Welcome to day 2 of SAFET. Today we have a special session, Advancing India's Sustainable Fisheries Through Technological Innovation. To start, we're going to have a keynote speech. I'd like to welcome Dr. K. Sunil Mohammed to the stage. Dr. Sunil is currently the chair of the Sustainable Seafood Network of India, and his keynote presentation will help provide a context of the unique overview of India's fisheries. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sunil to the stage.
Thank you, Dustin, and a very good morning to all of you. First, I'd like to thank EDF for giving me the invitation to make this presentation. So this is a sort of a background setting for the discussions to follow. So I will be talking about the management and the current situation in India's marine fisheries. So India is not a big country for consumption of fish. Its average is about 6.5 kilograms per person per year, but it's highly variable. It's almost 100 kilograms in some of the islands, but very poor, say, for example, in our capital in Delhi. So fish is not a big policy thing for India. That's the point that I want to make. We have good assets. We have a very lengthy coastline, about 7,500 kilometers, 2 million square kilometers of exclusive economic zone, and a big marine fisher population, nearly 4 million, of whom nearly 1 million are active fishermen. We also have a huge fleet of vessels, and it's nearly 200,000 vessels, of which many are almost all are small scale, but we have 3 classes. Our total value of marine fisheries is about $28 billion, and we export around, it's currently around $8 billion worth, of which 35% is from marine capture. And most of the fish is consumed fresh, a little bit in frozen condition, and some part in dry fish form. And exports, as you can see, is increasing, but the main increase is due to farming of shrimp, and the marine capture part of the exports is sort of steady for a long time now, but it's about 35% now. If you look at the marine catches, you can see that the mechanized fishery contributes about 80% of our catches. There is a section known as motorized, which are outboard engine crafts, and then there is the non-motorized, non-mechanized, just human power, and that is actually decreasing over the years. You can see the the purple color, which was 23% in 85, it's now just about 1% now. So almost all the crafts are mechanized or motorized. And the gears that are in use are trawl nets, gill nets. Dole net is a fixed bag net kind of gear. And the seine nets, ring seine and purse seine. And these are some of our major resources. You can see it's sort of dominated by pelagic resources like sardines and mackerel, anchovy. We also have shrimp and cephalopods, besides the threadfin breams and the hairtails. So one of the complexities of our fisheries is that we have all these crafts, the 3 major types of crafts, and there are 4 or 5 major gears, and they work in combination. So you could have a gill net which is mechanized, also motorized, or even non-motorized. So management of the fisheries is quite complex. And added to that, we have high diversity in our fish catch. So you can see that in the state of Tamil Nadu, more than 500 species are caught on an annual basis. So the number of species that are caught is very, very high because of the diversity. And this is a picture of the number of fishers over two periods, 2010 and 16. And you can see the total fisher population, which is about 4 million, has reduced slightly. But there are classifications on traditional fishers and other fishers. And BPL stands for below poverty line, which is again maximum economic, poor economic conditions is seen in among fishermen. And this is again a global view of how many countries fare in fisheries management. We are at the bottom level, but we do have, it actually looks at research, management, enforcement, socioeconomics, and stock status. Actually, we do quite well in research, but not very well in management, enforcement, and socioeconomics. And in India, management of fisheries, as mandated by our constitution, is in two parts. The fisheries in the EEZ, that is from the 12 to 200 nautical mile, is with the central government. And in the 12 to up to 12 nautical mile, it is with the respective state governments. It's mostly open access. Anybody can apply to get a registration or license. And by classification, all would be small scale. We also have a number of laws pertaining to this area. The main one is the Regulation Act in the 12 nautical mile zone. Beyond that, there is no strict law, and there are other laws like the Environmental Protection Act, the Biological Diversity Act, Wildlife Protection Act, the Coastal Zone Regulation. So I put this slide to show that there are many laws impinging on this particular area. It makes management actually quite difficult too. These are some of the ways in which the regulatory measures are put in force. There are input controls and output controls, registration and licensing. There's a closed fishing season during the breeding period, and the closed fishing areas, which are protected areas, marine protected areas. There are gear specifications and control over destructive fishing practices. In output control, we have minimum legal sizes in some of our states. We have protected species, that is endangered, threatened, and protected species. Zonal or spatial management is envisaged but not put in force, and so also quotas and tax. One of the major problems that we have is the exploitation of high quantity of juveniles. So actually, we call it in different names, trash or bycatch. So this actually goes into the fish meal industry, and now actually many fishermen actually fish for this rather than for quality fish. So it's a major concern for all the government as well as many environmental groups, and that's the reason why minimum legal sizes have been prescribed. It's working in some places. We also have huge overcapacity. Because it's an open access fisheries, there is no limit to entry. We have tremendous amount of overcapacity. And you can see here in this slide some of the MDTN stands for multi-day trawl nets, and that's where our whole overcapacity lies. These letter codes are the states that we have in our country. So some of the other nets that we have are outboard gill nets, OBGN, mechanized gill net, OBRS is outboard ring seine. So there is overcapacity in many of the gears, but especially in the trawl net. So some of the states have declared a moratorium on new fishing vessels. There's a check on the boat building yards, and only replacements are allowed. There's some degree of control on effort, but this is mostly on paper. Implementation is actually quite poor. And that's the reason why, if you look at our stock status, only about 34% of our stocks are sustainable, whereas so we have 36% overfished and about 26% recovering. We have also recently started experimenting with co-management because we have realized that a top-down approach on regulations is not working. So we have management councils now being formed, especially in the southern states. So we have a kind of a hierarchical management, a council system based management. And this is something envisaged for the entire country, where there's a National Marine Fisheries Management Council. There are regional councils and state councils, but this is not yet implemented. And the same is the case with the zonal management system. Right now, only the states are the zones. There are no regional zones. So this is again being recommended to the government. So if you look at, I know IUU fishing is a problem all over the globe, and the estimates are $36 billion loss because of IUU fishing. So in India, our problem lies with fishing without regulations. Much of our 12 to 200 nautical mile area does not have real regulations. There are only guidelines. And fishing with prohibited gear and catches of prohibited species and undersized fish. We also have subsidies, but we are not a big subsidy-giving nation. For example, India's annual subsidy is about $278 million, whereas in the US it is $3,500. In China it is above $5,000 million. So we are not giving much of subsidy, but we do have harmful subsidies for fuel. So there is a suggestion to remove these harmful subsidies into beneficial subsidies. And finally, I would like to say these are some of the recommendations that the 12 nautical mile zone is reserved for the traditional fishermen. The AIS and VMS is made mandatory to enforce the zonal licensing system. And also participatory management system in all states. And there's a need for legislating a law for the centrally managed zone, a target to reduce the below poverty line fishes, ensure better markets and prices for catches, prevent IUU fishing, especially through VMS, AIS and VMS, and SDG targets, meeting SDG targets, and of course climate impact on fishing and promoting green fisheries, which is again a technology area. So I thank you for the patient hearing. I hope the discussions that ensue will bring out more things. Thank you very much.
Thank you for providing the unique context of India's fisheries. This helps build a foundation for more discussion on potential technology solutions. So now I'd like to welcome our moderator for this special session, Dr. Aaron Savio-Lobo, a naturalist at heart and a marine conservation scientist by training. Aaron is a senior advisor with the Wildlife Conservation Society of India, a member of IUCN SSC, the Marine Conservation Committee. So please help me join Aaron to the stage. Thank you.
Yeah, so good morning, and thank you, EDF Dustin, for inviting me to kind of moderate this panel. I would particularly like to thank Dr. Sunil Mohammed for actually laying out this really good picture of the status quo of India, just how complex it is, just how difficult it is to manage, like not just the population, but also the massive diversity it presents. So diversity can be a great thing, but it also presents like a whole range of challenges. And I think I'd like to start this discussion with a little phrase that Baba Cook mentioned yesterday, which is technology does not work without people. And I won't say it doesn't work without people, but why do we need people to kind of base our technology upon? And I think this is really the context of what we're going to be talking about. Now, as we heard, India is the third largest fish producing country in the world. It is also the third largest seafood exporting nation in the world. But if you go and talk to any of the small scale fishing communities, or any of the fishing communities for that matter, asking them if their children would take up fisheries, the resounding answer is generally a big no. They don't want to do it. But I just wanted to ask a quick question before I sort of proceed into the panel. Just wanted to ask if there is any person from the fishing community or any representative from a fisher group over here today. Okay, yeah. Anyone else? Great, good to hear that. What's your name, sir? Okay, thank you. Good to know that. So today we have really something that's really important. We have technology that's developed, but it's kind of like almost co-developed by the fishing community, and for the fishing community. And I think this is really important. And today we have two very esteemed panelists. I'd like to welcome Mr. Xavier Lawrence, who is now, Mr. Xavier Lawrence actually hails from a very small town in southern Tamil Nadu. This is right at its far tip, a place called Kolachal. And he grew up in his early years of his life actually fishing on these small katumarams. Katumaram is from where the word catamaran comes from, which basically means tied logs. So he grew up fishing with his father. Between class 7 and 10, he would spend time at school but go out fishing every morning. We also have Dr. Vellavi. Now, Dr. Vellavi is the research head for the Fish for All project at the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, which is also located in Tamil Nadu. Dr. Vellavi also happens to come from a fishing community from along the Coromandel coast. It's also in the same state. And what's so amazing is both of them have been responsible in the development or the overseeing of particular apps. Please, I'd like to welcome you on the stage. Now, just a small bit of information. While Mr. Xavier has worked on a fishing boat, he's been out with his father fishing. He decided that he wants to kind of go out, explore. He trained as a computer science. He did his master's in computer applications. He went to Singapore. He went to the US, where he worked for nearly a decade. But then every time he came back home, he saw that there was this one thing that he was really lacking, and that was his kind of call back to the sea. So every time he came back, he went with his brother, who currently still works as a member of the fishing community, still continues to fish. His family still fishes. He went out on the boat to fish, where he kind of decided that this is what he wants to do. And so welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I would also like to welcome Dr. Vellavi. Now she heads this research group called Fish for All at the MS Swaminathan Foundation. And the whole idea was they developed this app which is called the Fish Friend. Dr. Xavier developed an app called Odaku, so I'll take our discussion over there and we can take it on to questions a little later. We've just kept this, can you hear me? Yeah, so we've just kept this space a little open because we're going to kind of move between a presentation mode and actually a discussion. So welcome, ma'am. So this word Odaku, when you hear an app like that, first of all, I just want to ask you, sir, this very general question. Most people in the fishing community in India, when you talk to them, as I said, do you want to send your kids into fishing? The resounding answer is no. Why did both of you come back? First of all, why did you come back to fishing?
Yeah, so I come from a fisherman background. I am a fisherman actually. So my father was engaged in fishing, and we still own a fishing trawler in India. So I worked in US, like I have worked in a lot of technologies. But whenever I come back to India, I still go for fishing. And I'm passionate about it because, after working in, with fishing and then back to IT sector, it was very interesting. There is a lot of opportunities, like going back to, that's why I came back to the same sector where I come from.
Ma'am, who would like to?
Yeah. Actually, my father is a small-scale fisherman. He's a fishing laborer. From my childhood onwards, I go along with my father and see the struggle he faced in the sector. So that motivated me to study in the marine biology and oceanography. And I thought that our study should be, because very rare in fishing community, the women get opportunity to study in such a huge career. So I got an opportunity. I thought that whatever struggled my father faced, so it should not be faced by other fishermen. So that motivated me to come up with some of the solutions, especially the tech kind of solutions, jointly with MS Swaminathan Research Foundation.
Thank you so much. That's really inspiring to hear. Now, you'll have two apps developed. One is Odaku, and one is Fisher Friend. I just wanted to ask the reason, why did you call an app Odaku? That name is quite interesting for me because normally you hear things like fish tech, ocean tech, sea tech, fish, something. It always has a tech connotation to it. Why did you call it Odaku?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
So Odaku is a word like used to by the southern part of Indian fishermen. So when I used to go for fishing with my brother, I always heard the word Odaku, right? So which means it's what you call a bottom structure at the sea. Whenever the net gets snagged or it's damaged, they shout this Odaku. So when I designed the app, right, I wanted to relate with them, right? They have to understand what that means. So I just kept the word, Odaku, because they understand very easily. I don't have to put this all techie words like fish or all things because they cannot type in the Google Play Store or download. So that's the simple answer. It's their word.
I really like the fact that it is their word, and it stems from the fact of a real world problem that was recognized by the community. So when the net gets snagged, how do they shout?
Odaku.
Okay, lovely, good to hear. Okay, I would like to go a little ahead on that, but I'd just like to ask Madam. So you developed this Fish Friend mobile app. Can you tell us a little bit about how it's being applied in sustainability? I know it has a larger reach, but how it is being applied in sustainability?
It's actually the Fisher Friend mobile application. It is an Android-based application, and it was evolved one of the post-tsunami rehabilitation initiative. So when we discussed with the community, especially the small-scale fisher community in India, so we realized that after tsunami, the fishermen are afraid to go to the sea and do their fishing. And this is one side. Another side, the overexploitation and the reduction of the fish resources, so that also affect the small scale. So one side this disaster, another side is the overexploitation. The fishermen are in between. So in this context, only this Fisher Friend was built up and it was evolved. And actually for this Fisher Friend, even for any technology, for yesterday and today also we are talking about many technology on fisheries. So any technology, it will be sustainable only with the capitals. The 5 capital is very, very important. So the technology is available. Who is taking the technology to next level? So the human capital is a very, very important thing. So we need a people. So we need a drivers to take up the technology to next level. That is one of the sustainability pillar we inbuilt with our application. Then second thing is that the social capital. Social capital in the sense, your target groups. The fisherman is your target groups. So you have to build the social capital. Then only your application should be, application or any technology, it go into the next level. The most important thing is that the physical capital. Physical capital in the sense, even the technology which we developed, whether the technology is suitable or friendliness or it is adaptable to the local community. So that kind of infrastructure we have. So that is also another important thing we have to see when we talk about the sustainability. The fourth aspect, the the financial capital. So it is very, very important. Most of the technology was what I have seen that they take this technology development as a kind of project mode. So within 1 or 2 years, it is good. So after 2 years, what is the status of the technology? Then again, a big question mark. So we inbuilt the financial sustainability into the system, then only the program or any technology will be sustainable. The final thing is that the environmental sustainability, the environmental capital, the natural capitals, that is very, very important. So all these 5 capitals only leads to the sustainability of any technology. We built all these capital into our fisher friends. So that's why this fisher friend, we have started with a small, in a fishing village, we have started with 500 fishermen. Now that application has grown up a pan-India application. So currently around 122,000 people in India using this application for their day-to-day fishing activities.
Thank you, ma'am. That is really inspirational, and we'll go on from that. But you also made a mention that this app has helped sustainability to resolve human-wildlife conflict, a range of issues. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you to present. So basically, what she made a mention was this app is scaled up now to 125,000 users. So it's quite large. It started off from a small village, imagine, and it's kind of spread across the country. But I would like you to to kind of just show us on your presentation how this is also used to resolve, say, to cause like either bycatch reduction or other issues around marine wildlife. Thank you.
So I already mentioned about I am from the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, Fish for All Research and Training Center. So already Dr. Sunil Makumad sir mentioned about the small-scale fisheries sector in India, so I'm not going about it. So actually in India, the women play a major role in the small-scale fisheries. They are involved in all the process. And yeah. So this is our application. So it is a Fisher Friend mobile application. It is available in all Indian coastal languages. So there are around 8 languages. So in coastal area, it's a predominant language. It is available in all Indian coastal languages. So one of the beauty of the application is that it gives the value-added information in their local language. It gives the location-specific information for the fisher community. And another important things about this application, it is a kind of evolutionary tool. So we involve the community in every stage of the application development. That is one of the beauty of the applications. We started with the 3 features. Now around 23 features are available in the applications. All the features are based on the need from the community. It is a demand. It's a need-based content is crucial for this application. So I already mentioned about started with 2007 post-tsunami situations. So currently we are in the 5th phase. So our current users is more than 120,000 fishers. So this is what, actually the applications not only giving the information to the community, not only giving the navigational support for the community, it also helps to address the issues related to the human wildlife conflict. You know, in India, one of the state called Odisha, so which is the famous for the turtle congregations. So every year, around 7 months, the turtle nesting, that particular area, the turtle congregations will be there. So the major issue is that how to alert the fishermen to avoid the turtle congregation zone. So the government of Odisha, state government of Odisha, they have approached us. So MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, in partnership with the Odisha Fisheries Department, we have developed a new feature and built into the application. It is a no fishing zone alert. So whenever fishermen near to that zone, they get an alarm. So, so in this way, they avoid the area for fishing. So this is one of the feature, and it not only support the small-scale fishermen to avoid the area, it also helps the government for the conservation point of view. Then actually, can I? Yeah. So one of the major, actually, I want to bring some of the things into this forum. So based on our 20 years learning this particular field, what I learned from the fishermen that any technology, so any no, application or any other mobile-based or AI-based anything, it should be have some kind of science-based, and it's also is a process interest, not a simply, so today we are developing an application, tomorrow we result, not like that. It should be a process-oriented one, and also involve the community in the every stage of the applications. That is the important no, process for making sustainability of the any intervention. Second thing is that the livelihood of the people is the core. So even though we develop many technology, whether the technology address the day-to-day livelihood issues of the community, so that is also one of the major issue when we develop such application or promote any kind of technology. And third thing is that the inclusive planning. So involve the community in the beginning of the any beginning of the project or programs. Normally what we can do now, so it is a kind of a top-down approach. First we develop everything and then we give to the technology to the people. So it should be, it's not a sustainable way from my learnings. So we have to involve the community in the beginning itself. We collect their needs, we get their needs, and we build the technology, we build the solution based on their need. Definitely it will be sustainable. And finally, we have to recognize, because in all the stages, the women role in a fisheries, it is a neglected one. So women play a major role, especially in the small scale fisheries sector. The women play a major role, but their role is invisible in nature. So when we develop any such technology, we have to take care of the women role and build the process into it. So these are some of the learnings from my applicant. Thank you.
Yeah, I would thank you so much, ma'am. This was this gives us a very good glimpse, and I think people have several questions for you. I have a few questions, but before that, I'd like Mr. Xavier to also give us a little broader glimpse to what we just touched upon about Wadaku. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, all. So I just want to say, our theme, fishing nets meets internet. So just he introduced me, I come from fisherman background, right? So I used to go work with my father, right? So when we used to go in a small scale boat 20 years back, right? Then I went for my software work in US and Singapore. I was there for 15 years working in the IT sector, with artificial intelligence, big data, and all this stuff. So, but whenever I come back to India, I still, continue my fishing with my brother. So now the things have moved from traditional fisherman to a modernized one. But what I found was the books that was carried by fisherman community was remained. So those books, whatever my father had, it was being carried by my brother. So there's a lot of data available in the notebook, right? So with my background, I started this company. That's a fishing net. I digitized the whole process that needs the internet, right? So these are the founders that myself with the IT background, 20 years of IT background, and that's my brother, who is a fisherman. So we had trawlers in India, 3 trawlers. So with our experience, so this product is purely designed by fishermen for fishermen. It was not designed for any regulatory purpose or any compliance purpose, no. Purely, we wanted to solve our own problem with the technology background that I had. Because, you hear a lot about, new technologies and everything, but does that solve our problem? That's the question that we ask. So what solves our problem is the one that we built. So when I went with my brother, right, so what I found was they were using the navigation system, right? It was like an old navigation system model, all paperwork and everything. So the first process that we did was we redesigned the marine navigation system with our own intelligence, right? All this paper-based work was digitized to give a better insight for the fishermen. While designing this product, I had 3 visions in my plan.
The first one is safety, because if you ask any fisherman, safety is the least thing they are bothered, right? They don't care much about, because that's the nature of our work. The second is sustainability. So if you ask any fisherman what is sustainable traceability, they have no clue, right? So they are not part of this ecosystem at all, but still we build this product keeping that aspect in mind that when things needed, we can support it, right? So safety, right? So we have this marine navigation. What we have is an Android-based application, and we have a Bluetooth gadget, right? So now imagine that, as Dr. Sunil said, like there is a complexity of communities, different users. So the budget is designed by fishermen. You have a smartphone, you use it, or you have a bigger tablet, you use it, or you want a big monitor, you can use it. So we give the hardware, but the tablet all is bought by the fishermen, which made them more inclusive, right? So in our applications, we provide like AAS, which is like a basic an accident to avoid shipping collision, and geofencing. There are local laws in India, like you shouldn't fish here, there should not. All these laws are covered here, right? And then a lot of navigation alerts, which only fishermen understand, right? Like sometimes they sleep when they are navigating in deep sea. After tired, they sleep. So that alerts are very important, like when a ship is coming. The second part, I'm not touching upon sustainability because this is not our area. If you ask anything, we do not know much about it. There is no interest. But as a company, responsible, we provide this cash log. If there is a need, we allow them to share. The sharing is the option, which is like very successful among the fishermen community, because data sharing enables them more innovative. And now we come about traceability, right? So I'm just taking a track. This is how this guy has fished. So you see the blue line is the one that is like he was navigating. He was not fishing, but he was just driving. And the red color is the one that he was fishing, actively fishing. So all these things we have done. So we have this basic information, like who, when, how, all this data is there. But how you monetize is still not very clear. It's not very clear on the traceability part. Right? But what I understood is that this navigation data can be used as electronic evidence to any issues, especially for fishermen community. I'll give an example. There was a ship accident happened in India. So it's always the first question they ask is, where were you fishing? When were you fishing? Where is your electronic monitoring data, right? So with this customer, this guy has shared, because it's cloud-based, he was able to share to the fishing communities. So he was able to share the data to the ship community, and he was able to claim the compensation, right? So that adds value to him. That's what he cares. He doesn't care about, the traceability. That is not his job. It's like his government job, right? That's how we think, right? So this is, our products. Like the first, you see this very simple gadgets, right? This gadget, you have this GPS gadget. If you want AS gadget, or if you want our display, we have all the budget products. Now, it is left to the fisherman what he wants within his budget, how much he's willing to spend. He can buy any of this hardware. He can connect with a smartphone or tablet or big screen, whatever he wants. Then we have another product, VTS. So you have to understand that, especially vessel monitoring or vessel tracking system, it is not good for a fisherman. Nobody wants to be tracked. That's the real fact, right? So we had a program in India where there was a conflict between the fishermen community. There is small scale, as Dr. mentioned, there is a bigger vessel, right? So this fishery department has approached us. Now imagine that we are not putting an external hardware for tracking or nothing. It's the same hardware, same app. Only we enable a kind of report button on the app which gives all this data to the cloud, which they have monitored in the fishery department, they can see. So you see the red color area is the one that is a lot of fishing activities happen, and green color is the running area. So that yellow color is the one that he was drifting. So it's a real world, like how fishermen in India install our app, right? So the first one is a trawler, right? You see this guy is using an 8-inch tablet. Most of them use 10-inch tablet. Then you have a small-scale fisherman where he has got a small, he has put that in this one. Then we have bigger trawler, right? So this trawler, he has got a 21-inch touch monitor. Now this has got a sensors. It can read a lot of data from the external, like your water level, all these things, and you can also feed in external CCTV camera to monitor your engine, right? Your monitor. I think was as a fisherman we care. We care about our safety, our this one. So regulation is not something that we haven't come to that level as of now. So I mean, okay, this is a real picture, right? So you see, this is a fisherman, and that's a tablet that he has got. You see all these colors; these are all data that is he's interested, right? So you get a lot of various benefits. So one of the things that, especially working with developing countries, that I realized is the localization, right? That's very, very important. So if you want your customers use a product, that it has to be localized. And our customers are fishermen, right? They are our customers. And then the other element, right? This is something that we also work with fishery departments, like, so if you want, like, we also help them data collection and visualization, then we generate visual log sheet and everything, right? So this is the customers in India. I mean, we are scaled up throughout India with 3,000 fishermen actively using. So thank you very much. And that's my slide. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Xavier. That was, that gave us a nice picture of how Odakku works and how it was built, how it came up. Could I request? Yeah, that's turned off. Thank you. So with that in mind, I'd just like to kind of take it to another question, which is about adoption. Now in India, one of the big things when you go to any small-scale operator, even if you tell them tomorrow you're giving them a trawler or a long-line boat, they most probably will say, like, we are a bit reticent about it. We don't want to just jump onto a trawler. We're not sure what this new beast is. So there was always a reticence to move into this new kind of phase of technology. And I'm sure you all have seen it similar. My question to you all, something like this, which actually brings them to be compliant of particular activities, or brings them to kind of avoid certain areas, particularly when, like Dr. Mohammed says, catches are kind of going down. A lot of these fishers are actually struggling to make a livelihood. How did you, ma'am, get them to adopt something like this?
It's a good question. Actually, when we promote this, the fisher-friend application to the community, first, the major challenge we have faced that the literacy. So literacy is the major problem, especially in the fishermen community. So most of them are, especially the fishers above 40, they are whether neoliterates or illiterate. So this was one of the major problem we have found. And another important thing is that the network connectivity in the coastal areas. So these are the two main things first we have to address it. So we worked out and we have developed more picture-based things and built into the application. Then also lobby with the government of India and improve the network connectivity in the coastal areas. So the two things we have adopted in the side level. The main level, we also built the community, volunteers. Because when we work with the community, so we need some of the drivers to take the technology forward. So we identify the potential volunteers, the youth volunteers from the community. We build them, we promote them as a kind of fisher-friend ambassadors. So they helped us, they facilitated us to take the application to the next level. So it's instead of I'm going or the foundation going to tell them about the application, we identify the one person from the community, we train the community members, and the community members to go and tell the peer fishermen. That is very strong, and it is well accepted by the community. That is one thing. Then second thing is that we have developed more video kind of things, so the pictorial and video format. So that video format, we put it in the theaters, we put it in the temple public address system. So even we put it in the village level, because in India, especially in Tamil Nadu area, in villages, so we have a community TV. So in that community TV, actually this are all happened no, 2007, up to 2017, I am telling. So we took that video as one of our promoting tool to disseminate this informations. And third important thing is that we also take the support of the traditional panchayat at the village level. You know, in the fishery sector, especially in India, the traditional panchayat system is very strong. So whenever you want to do something in the fishing village, first you have to convince the traditional panchayat system. Once you convince them, then it is very easy for you to take promote your products into the village. So we, we train the community, we train the panchayat, we also build their confidence, how this application helps them and how it's help their day-to-day decision-making process related to fishings. So all these aspects helps us to adopt this application from 500 to 1,20,000 people. So currently we have around 1,500 the volunteers network with us. So all the volunteers from the community. So we call them as a Fisher Friend ambassadors.
I really like that. I mean, you're taking it up from an individual level to a societal level, and to look at capacity kind of develop like this and actually transferring it in the hands of the fishers is really so powerful. And with that, I would also like to ask, what were the difficulties, sir, you faced, when Odakku just came into being? Tell us about your first few days of Odakku, first few months of Odakku, when you're trying to introduce it. What were the challenges you faced? Did they kind of just embrace it and say, we'll take up Odakku tomorrow?
No, I think that the resistance will be always there, right? So it's very common, like when new technology. But at the end of the day, what value we are giving back to the users, customers? So we are a private sector, so we charge, right? And we give value. So when I give value, obviously my sales goes up. That's what we did. It's pure value creation. There is no magic. We saved a lot of money for them. We just sold it.
Yeah, I think that is quite straightforward. Thank you for that response. And finally, before I open it up to the audience, I'd like to get to one more sort of big question. Now, this app, both these apps were kind of developed in Tamil Nadu, which is a state in the southern coast of India. It's got its own distinctiveness in many ways, in terms of community composition, even across that coast. India, as Dr. Mohammed showed us, is hyper diverse. Not just in terms of craft gear, in terms of what kind of fishery. It's very difficult to say that this is sustainable, this is not, mechanized is bad, traditional is fine, because there's this huge scale of gray. How did you all manage to scale this up is something that is probably a question in everyone's mind, particularly you, ma'am. You've taken it up to 125,000 people now. How did you manage to do this?
Yeah, for scalability, mainly you need partners. Partners at different level. As I already mentioned about the community level partners, how it is important to scale up within the village. And for next level, so you need partners at the different level. At the district level, we need partners. We have to convince the district administration. And then we need partners at the state level. That is one side for a promotion kind of thing. Another important thing is that the data. The data is very, very important app like Fisher Friend. So we built partnership with, again, the government institute, Ministry of Air Science. Under the Ministry of Air Science, the INCOIS, there's an autonomous body under Ministry of Air Science. They are the authorized body to give the early warning information to the fisher folks. So we have partnered with INCOIS and the continuous flow of information has also helped us to scale up the things in a different level. And third aspect is that we build a different level of committees. What Sunil sir told about that, the council, the co-management council at the different level. So likewise for Fisher Friend, we have the committee at the village level committee, district level committee, and state level committees. So these committees helped us to develop the strategies for scaling up and strategies for sustainability and also strategies for taking the things to the community. So these are all the way we have followed. And final thing is that the advisory board, involving all of this, community, then government, and also the research institutions. So the strategic advisory group also helped us in many ways for taking these things into next level. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think this point you made about structure, actually creating the structure is also very key for people to understand how do you take it to scale in a country like India. And so I turn that question over to you. You know, that was your goal. How do you take your app to 3,477 villages? Am I right, sir? From your presentation. So that's a big number.
Yeah, I think scaling is a bit difficult, to be very frank, because the education level is different. So it's a tough job for us, scaling. That's why some things that we do is, one reason, like we just focus on the hardware, then people can buy the tablet or mobile. So scaling is for us is a bit slow, but that's the only choice we had. I think it takes time.
Okay, thank you so much. And I really, I think this was a really sort of a vibrant, diverse conversation. I'm sure all of you benefited from it. And I think a couple of key principles stem out from what we've spoken about before I open this out to the audience. One of them is the way you'll have kind of worked to foster self-esteem, to get fishers themselves to kind of be part of the co-creation process to develop this. I think this is something that's being done by multiple organizations, but it's nice to hear that this is being built on strengths that exist on the ground. Then I think another point coming from Xavier is the whole point of, really sort of traveling the globe, you're scanning globally, and you have that local reference, but then you reinvent it to a local situation. So you're using best available science to kind of reinvent it to something that's very context specific. And I love the points that Doug Adamson made yesterday about the thing about keeping it simple. Fishers want something that is straightforward, easy to use, don't complicate our lives further. And the whole thing of building on traditional ecological knowledge systems, I love the fact that your dad maintained that logbook. But who's really going to be using that logbook? I think that logbook is beautiful for us to, for you to have. But they'll tell you where every rock was, where every little coral patch is. I mean, that particular area where Xavier comes from, the Gulf of Mannar, is full of these coral heads. There are these shark fishers that go out into the deep blue. They sink trees that act as fish aggregating devices. So there's a whole diversity of things that exist there, and we don't want to lose that. And that's the reason you have people like Xavier building it on traditional ecological knowledge. And with that, I'd like to open it to the audience. Thank you so much for joining this panel, and thank you to this audience. But we would like to take other questions from you all. We have a few minutes, so we have time for about 3 to 4 questions.
Hi, thank you for sharing your experiences in India. I have one question that is applicable for both panelists. How do you monetize the app and make it sustainable? Do the fishermen pay for using the apps that you have built? Or are you subsidized in any way by government or NGOs for your app to be sustainable?
Yeah, regarding the Fisher Friend, it is not it is a free of cost, and it is available in Google Play Store. So for the data, the government support us, especially I told you about the Ministry of Earth Science and that the inquires. So they have provided the data, and MSSR have developed the application, and people for the network service charge and all, community, they have contributed us. So it is a kind of MS Swaminathan Foundation, community, and the government. So they put together, it is a sustainable one. So it is a free of cost. As per the data, it is a free of cost.
So we are a private sector, so we cannot give free. We charge monthly subscription fee, and there is a fee for hardware. So we charge. Because you have to charge the fisherman, then only you can create value. And then only they'll buy your products. Right? That's our goal.
Hi, I'm Sivam Krish. I'm very, very impressed with what you have achieved, both of you all. It's absolutely impressive. The question I have for both of you all is that end of the day, there's two things in this whole thing. That one is wastage, spoiled fish. I think in Sri Lanka, the estimate is 30% of fish is spoiled on landing, trying to bring it down to 20%. The second is the fishermen don't make the money. The money is made elsewhere. So what are your initiatives? And both of you are, I believe, committed to improving the welfare of fishermen. What are your plans on those two aspects? I'd like to hear from you.
No, I think that's our end goal, right? The idea is, see, first when you bring this supply chain, right, the involvement of the fishermen community is very important. So unfortunately, if you look at the whole ecosystem, fishermen are always neglected. And the problem is that there is not much technology built for them, right? First, we have to digitize them. That's the process. That's what we are doing. So when we digitize it, right, when they coming to the online platform, then the buyers will be interested. So you can cut down all this middlemen. So we see that right now, because in India, we have 3,000 customers, fishermen, and there are a lot of big companies, especially seafood companies, they are showing very much interest to come into our platform because they can get directly access to the fishermen, get the traceable data, because they can build the brand, right? That's the end goal, and we are there.
Yeah, actually there are two aspects I want to highlight here. So one is about the application. So we are not treating this application as a standalone program or project. It is one of the service. So we have built other component also. So we have the bycatch reduction device program with us. So the bycatch reduction device, through the program, we orient the fishermen, we sensitize the fishermen on the importance of the bycatch reduction devices to avoid a juvenile fish catch. That is one part. The other part, whatever information we are giving through the application. So one of the service in the application called the potential fishing zone informations. So the potential fishing zone information only targeting the pelagic fish, not with the bottom or the juveniles and other things. So they catch only the shoal fishes, they catch only the pelagic fishes. So in this way also we are promoting the sustainability point of view, especially to reduce the waste or to reduce the unwanted fishes. In the Park Bay area, when we started this certification, the MSc certification process for one of the famous shrimp in that area, the flower shrimp, Pineus semisulcatus. Initially, the fishermen, they have hesitated to use the bycatch reduction devices, especially the square mesh cordon in the trawlers. So after giving many field level trials, we convinced the fishermen, because the behavioral change is one of the important things when we have to develop among the fishermen. If you want to make some changes, you have to specifically work with the behavioral change related. When the behavioral change comes, so you have to do more groundwork, more demonstration to convince the fishermen into our system. So that we did it now, in Park Bay area, around 100 fishermen, they have adopted the square mesh cordon in their trawl net. So that helps to avoid juvenile fish, that helps to avoid other wastage fish. They only get the quality fish for fishing. So some of the things we have to consider when we develop any kind of technology, we see that technologies in a standalone process, it is difficult to sustain it. So we have to build the technologies as core part of our major programs. Then only you get good results at the ground level.
Yeah, I'm afraid we've run out of time, but I would like to say a very warm thank you to both my panelists. It's been really sort of not just interesting, but it's also so important to see something like this that's happened, and most of all, convincing fishermen to adopt something like this in these very challenging times that Dr. Muhammad has painted quite a beautiful picture of, or rather a dire picture of. So thank you so much, and a round of applause for you all.